Hello, I am Victor Paredes and I am very excited to show you how this new export to glTF works. glTF is a format that will allow us to send characters from Moho to game engines and also to 3D software, keeping all the bones and the animation of them. So we have this character, this one comes from the startup. This character was illustrated by Alfredo Cáceres. And we have this animation. And you can see how this character has some IK for the legs and also for the instrument. We can bend it. The cape is moving with some dynamic bones here. So you can see how the cape is moving automatically there. And we have some smart bones to rotate the head a little bit and also to turn the instrument here. Okay, nothing too fancy here, but all of this works. It worked together with the animation. So let's say we want to export this character. So I can simply go to File, Export, and Export to Video Game, glTF. Okay, this is the new option. And here we will see a window with different settings. We explain all these settings in the tutorial. You can visit the wiki to check them, but I will show you some of the basics here. So basically we can export as glTF and also as GLB, okay? There are some technical differences that probably you will know. I mean, if you know about video games or about 3D formats, you will know about them. But basically, when you from Moho, when you export glTF, it will export the glTF file and next to it a folder with all the assets from that file, all the images. Okay, and when you export to GLB, it will be only one file containing everything there. Okay, there are differences, and you can pick one or the other depending on your own needs, but that is the main difference in terms of exporting from Moho. Okay, so we have other options here that you can check on the tutorial, but basically I'm going to export this. I will name it loot, the same name it has. You can add some comments or some copyright copies there, and I can press OK. And now you will see the exporter is going to play the animation, and now it is done. So we have a GLB file. I can show you here. I have it here in this folder, and this file contains all my animation, all the bones and everything. If you want to test this, I recommend you to check the glTF viewer. This is an online tool that allows you to check glTF and GLB files. So I can simply take my file here. I'm going to drag it on top, and now you can see the character moving here. Okay, but this is not an image sequence. This is the actual rig of the character. So actually I can show you in the display. I can show you the wireframe of the character, so you can see how this model is created here. I can show you the skeleton too. You see all these lines are the skeleton, and you can see also that here's the animation. I can activate or deactivate the animation. I can play it a bit slower if I want. Okay, and here we have morph targets. Okay, and you can see, let me just turn off the animation here. The smart bones that were rotating the head and the instrument, they are saved as morph targets. So you can see I can control those there. So actually when the head moves during the animation here, is this morph target moving. Okay, and the same for the instrument here. So if I play the animation, you can see how these bars are moving here. Okay, so let me show you how this works in Blender. So I'm going to open Blender here, and I need to move it to the other screen. Give me 1 second. So I have Blender here. I will remove the cube, which is the most important part you have to do, and then I will do the same. I will simply take this character, drag it on Blender, and now this is something that works for me. You can try different options if you know better. I am not a Blender expert, so if you know better, you can try something different, but for me, in the options for the glTF, I prefer to use this option. So I select this one, and then I import the glTF. Okay, And now you can see we have our character here. It's a bit small, so I'm going to zoom in here and I'm going to rotate the view. You can see the character. Of course, this is all like white papers, right? But I can select the viewport shading to be rendered. And now I can see my actual character here. Let me just zoom in. And you can see how the character has the bones and it has the animation. And you can see how all the layers are moving exactly in the same way they did in Moho. Okay? But this is a skeleton. This is like a flat 3D character that you can modify now in Blender itself. Right? And I can also show you here that if I select the head, for instance, I can go here and here I have the morph of the head. So you can see how you can control the morph of the head directly in Blender, or in the case of the exported animation, that morph is already moving with the animation. Okay, so let me just come back here. This character, and this is an important part, this character was created with images. You know, this character is actually a PSD file. In this case, this PSD file was created in Photoshop, but it could be created in any other software. So you can see how all these layers are separated, okay, in order to rig them later. So I'm just showing you here several of the different layers, okay, and this character was imported into Moho, rigged into Moho as an image. So when I tell you about the morph targets here, or the smart bones, actually the smart bone is rotating a mesh that the head has in Moho. So you can see how the mesh is moving. Okay. Now let me show you another character, and this one was actually used in a video game prototype. So let me just open this Space Woman. Okay. So we have a difference here. This character is actually created with vectors directly in Moho. So if I select any of the layers, you will see that these layers are actually vectors that I can modify in Moho. Okay, so let me show you the animation of this character here. We have run, we have an idle animation, we have a jump. There are several different animations for this character. But there is something I want to tell you about vectors, and is that when we export to glTF is basically a 3D format, okay? So when you create your characters with vectors in Moho, those vectors are going to be transformed into an image, okay? And the image is going to be exported to this new format, because that is the way game engines and 3D software work with this. Like, they don't have anything like the vector animation in Moho, okay? So basically any vector animation you want, any vector animation you create in this character is not going to be exported, because all this is going to be saved as, every layer is going to be saved as a single image, basically. All right. So that is very important to consider, and it will change a bit the way how you rig characters if you are rigging them for video games. So for example, let's say I go here and I select the mouth, okay? And maybe I want this character to smile. So usually in Moho, what you could do is you could simply animate these points and go one by one. You can change the curvature or many other things. I'm going to create something like kind of ugly, but let's suppose, okay, this is the smile I wanted, and I created that animation, but this is not going to be exported. So instead of that, if you want to create something like the mouth moving, what you could do is, I'm going to cut the mouth and I'm going to create a new vector layer, paste the mouth here, and I'm going to call this vector layer mouth. All right, but now I will create a warp layer, a mesh layer. So I'm going to create a new vector layer, and I'm going to simply create, sorry, with sharp corners here, I'm going to create some points. We have several tutorials related to how to create a warp layer, so I'm not going to explain that here, but let's say this is what I want. Okay, so I'm going to go to draw, triangulate the 2D shape. The thickness is too high, so I'm going to turn it down. So I have this mesh created, and now I can tell the software, actually I'm going to call this mouth warp, and now I'm going to open the mouth properties, go to vector, and in the select warp layer section I'm going to select mouth warp. Okay, so now what is happening is that this mesh is controlling the movement of the mouth. Okay, so with that, now I can create a new smart bone. I'm going to create a new smart bone here. I'm going to call it mouth, show the label. Okay, maybe I will move it here. Okay, and now I'm going to open the actions window, and I'm going to create a new action for this. I'm just creating a smart bone for this, so I'm going to tell the software every time this bone rotates up, I want the mesh of the mouth to go up like this. So I can simply move all these points. So let's say one by one. Okay, this is not a great smile, but I hope it makes sense. Yeah, you can do it better later at home, but okay. This is the smile I want, okay? And now I'm going to create a second action for the same bone. So I will tell the software every time this one rotates down, I want the mesh of the mouth to move down. So I'm going to, yeah, this is perfect. Okay, like that. So now let's say during the main animation I want to, I don't know, I'm going to put this up and then down and then up again, and actually I'm going to create a cycle with this. Okay, so I have this character moving. Let me show you in the idle animation, it's going to be more visible, but this character is moving like this. All right, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to export again the animation as glTF. I'm going to export this, so it's going to run, the exporter is going to run the entire animation, and it's also going to run some actions. You are going to see some actions running here after the animation, like running, walking, jumping. There are several actions here. I will show you how to use them too, but we're almost done there. And okay, now the file is exported, so I can take, I have the file here, the GLB file, so I can open the glTF viewer again, and I'm going to just drag this. Okay, and now you can see, probably during the idle animation, you can see how the mouth is moving there. And actually, let me just turn off the animation. You can see I have two blend shapes, one for the sad face and another for the happy face. So basically this is how you create animation with the vectors. Basically you create a mesh, and you can create smart bones, or you can create any action to move those to move that new mesh. Okay. Now let me show you something else related to this. I'm showing you this because this is important when you are creating your character. It's not exactly the same as rigging a character in Moho. You don't have access to all the tools that come with Moho, because many of them are exclusive to Moho and they cannot really be exported. They are not supported by game engines or 3D software. So sometimes we need to do some workarounds for that. Here is another one. Let me show you. If you look at the chest, especially with the idle animation, let me show you here. You can see the chest here is rotating a little bit, okay? And this is actually done with this bone, and this bone moves the chest, okay? And actually what is happening here is that if I select the chest, you can see there is a mesh here. Let me just show you the mesh. There is actually a mesh that is controlling the chest. So actually all these lines are actually like a triangulated mesh that is controlling this. So basically this point I am moving is actually bound to this bone. So when I move this bone, I can simulate that this chest is rotating. Okay, so in this case this won't look very good, but it's all like a subtle animation just to give some 3D sensation to the movement. So again, I cannot animate the points, but I can do some tricks. And in this case, I don't even need to create a smart bone, because if the bone is already moving the mesh, that is going to work in the new format. Okay, so all these files are available in the startup. Every time you open you open Moho, one of these files is going to appear on your screen, and all the files in the startup for Moho 14.4 can be exported to glTF. They are optimized for that, so you can play with them and probably you can check how they are built, and maybe you will learn a couple things. Now, let me just hide this body mesh again, and I want to show you the actions window. I can open the window actions here. Okay, in this case it's already open, but I want to show you this window. Because we have several actions for this character, we have the main line that contains several different animation cycles, okay? But actually, all these cycles are also saved here as actions. So for instance, the walk cycle is saved here in the walk action. I have a run action. I have the idle action. And I have the jump action. Okay, so all these are like pieces of animation of your character that can also be exported. And the nice part is that the exporter or the game engine can combine those. So actually, let me show you here with the glTF viewer. You can see here we have several different animation tracks. For instance, I have the idle track. So you can see how the character is moving. I have the jump one. Then I have the run. And I have the walk, okay? And during your video game, you can combine those. So since this is a character that is made with bones, you can mix the animation of those bones. So for instance, let's say, okay, the character is walking, you move the stick and the character, you move it slightly and the character starts to walk, but then you start to move it more. So it's going to start to run, but maybe it's going to mix at the beginning, run and walk. So now you get like a walk that it's a bit slower, a run that is a bit slower, and then you can fully run here. So you can do that. Okay, or you can combine idle and walk animation. So now you get like a kind of weird animation, but it's something that you can also combine. Another thing that I want to show you is that for the jump, okay, and this is actually, we were working on a prototype of this game or this character in a game, and the developer asked me to separate the jump because I had this action for the jump, one single action containing every single piece of the jump. But actually, a jump in a video game, the duration of the jump and the size of the jump will probably be tied to the way you are playing the game. So if you hold the jump button longer, probably that jump is going to be longer, or probably the jump is going to be higher, or wider. So there are some things that are related to the video game itself and not related to the animation here. So when I provide this jump in one single animation, it didn't work because I was defining the duration of the jump and also the height and also many different parts of the animation. So instead of that, I separated the jump in different actions. So for instance, I have first the anticipation of the jump. So the character going down and then it's starting to jump. That is one action. Then I have the second action that is the character on the air. So this is the duration of the jump. Then I have a third action that is the character falling. You see? So it starts to fall. Everything is happening on its own place. I am not moving the character up or to the side because everything is happening here on the same place. That position is going to be adjusted later by the game itself. And then I finally have the final animation of the jump, which is when the character hits the ground and goes back to normal. Okay, so from one action I actually created 4 different actions, and that allowed us to create the video game. And I want to show you here the video game. So we took all these animations and the character and put it in Unity. So we have this video game created in Unity. This the video game was created by Walter Veneros, and the background was created by Rodrigo Sauré. Okay, two Chilean artists. So we have the character here. You can see the idle animation, but I can play with the keyboard or with a controller, so I can make the character run or jump. You know, and in this case, we created a back view of the character for this prototype, so I can flip the character here. Okay, but you can see how I can control this video game in real time. There is not much happening, to be honest, in the video game other than some platforming. Here is the end of the video game, actually. Congratulations, we arrived to the end of the video game. Just to make things a bit more fun, Walter added some controls to change the strength of the jump, so I can do like a very high jump now. Doesn't make much sense, but and it's also breaking the game, but I can go to the end of the game here, and I can jump, and now I am on top of this invisible platform, and I'm just going to jump here. Okay, and the game is done. All right. Then okay, so that is for video games. You can play whatever engine you're playing with. It's Unreal, Unity, or Godot, or any other. If it supports glTF, which is like a very common format, it will support the characters in Moho. We have some tutorials also on the wiki that you can check for that. Now I want to show you another file here. Because this part is also very exciting, I think, and is that I have this animation. Okay, again, it is made with a PSD file. The character was created by Alfredo Cáceres again. But in this case, we exported this character and we imported into Blender. Okay, it could be any other 3D software. Again, if the 3D software supports the glTF file, then this is going to work. So let me show you here. The Blender file. I am opening it here. Okay, this scene was created by Rodrigo Sore. Again, he's like an expert on Blender and very good artist. So here we have this character. You can see all the bones, but we also have a 3D environment here. Okay, so you can see how this character now is inside of a 3D environment. We also have some water here. Let me just see if I can show you. Let me just move this to the top here. Okay, so you can see the water is actually reflecting the character and reflecting the fire the character has. Okay, and the nice part about this, and also this is one of the main differences, this is an actual character. It's an actual rig that has bones and has animation. Okay, this is not an image sequence that we just imported into Blender. This is an actual character, and that means the skeleton of this character can interact with the 3D scene because it's like a flat 3D character. So for instance, here the fire is actually made with some particles in Blender, but it is attached to the bone of the torch. So wherever the character moves the torch from Moho, that movement comes from Moho, the particles are going to react to that movement. So you don't need to be tracking anything because this is actually following the movement of the torch. So now let me show you the final version of this movement of this character. So we have the character here with the torch and the final lighting and everything. So for me, like, this part is very exciting because you can take Moho characters and you can combine them with Blender or with any other 3D software, so you can create some very nice scenes with nice illustrations, but maybe more realistic backgrounds. And I don't know, I would love to see like a TV show done with this, or a short or anything. I hope this little example can inspire some of you to create something like that. Okay, because with the speed of Moho to rig and animate characters, and then the ability of 3D software to generate this kind of realistic environments, you could create something very cool, I think. Okay, and I think that's it about the glTF. please check the files. Also, we are going to add new files. We are adding new files here. If you go to help additional content, you will be able to download several of the files I showed you here. We also have the Space Woman working on Unity, Unreal, and Godot, so you can check how that is built and how you can control that character there. You can also check the tutorials and the wiki. And if you have any questions, please visit the forum, visit the Discord channel, or ask us on social media. We are always checking. Okay, thank you for watching. Bye.